Wow, is this working? That was a little weird intro. Trying something new in the realm of automatic scripting and macros. Well, let's try this again. Um, Welcome back. I didn't get much more than a couple hours of sleep from this morning. My apologies for how bad that was. I don't even know how long I fell asleep. So again, super sorry about that, gang. But we're here, and I'm gonna start talking about a little bit of a something problem here with my attention deficit disorder, my diagnosis. I mean, I had this when I was living in Bolton. I had moved in from Marlborough, Massachusetts, and I lived right next to the Freedom Farm in Bolton on Old Harvard Road. And I went to Emerson School, and this was right around the time my father and mother's divorce was finalizing, and it had a serious impact on me. And I started to not do so well in school, but over time, this not doing so well was getting worse and worse. So, I was in therapy for a while, and basically, I had ADD before it was even a thing. So let's dive in. I mean, I'm not presenting, a TED talk. I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm trying to tell the truth about what's going on inside my head and how I got here. So the people around me don't have to keep guessing or assuming the worst about me, which seems to be the case. I'm losing a lot of friends because of this. And I don't really talk about it much. Because it really didn't become a thing until I've lost my wife. Now she's got her issues. But I'm absolutely causing trouble. It's not that I'm doing it, it's just that it's happening to me and other people are caught up in it. I mean, for years, people have felt a kind of tension coming off of me. They've seen that frantic edge. How I lock onto stuff and I don't let go. And they've also seen me go quiet, close my eyes, drift, and just seem gone. Lost in a daydream of sorts. I mean, from the outside, this can look like anywhere overreacting, trying to control the room, laziness, not listening, or just not caring. But the truth, under all that, there's something, much, much simpler going on. And that's just the ADD. And that sits on top of a life that did not start on steady ground. I mean, I started life as a ward of the state. From birth to around 18 months, I was in a foster home. In those first 18 months, where attachment and safety are supposed to be wiring in, I was with people I don't even remember. It's not, And then I was adopted into the home of Roger and Muriel. And my mom, Muriel, she was being victimized by Roger's narcissistic abuse. He wasn't a safe or present father. he could be mentally cruel, emotionally absent, and he damaged her deeply. She suffered a couple nervous breakdowns. By the time I showed up at 18 months old, there was already this emotional climate. I mean, the circumstances in which they adopted, he was sterile, and they wanted a child, and they couldn't produce a child. So, but the idea was to fix the marriage with the baby. It's not something you want to do. So, adoption, I show up to an already hurt and anxious woman, my mother. There's already this abusive, narcissistic father figure. No real model of what a healthy, present dad would look like. So yeah, I've got issues. And my mom did what she could. I learned to read early. I learned to understand money quickly, and I was given, some adult responsibilities way before my time. I wasn't a normal kid for that era. I mean, in the late 60s and 70s, I was running errands and buying food, and I had a paper route. The world was different then. Parents sent kids to the store alone, and it was just life. I was a Boy Scout. There, I learned how to shoot a .22 rifle, bow and arrow, I had a lot going for me. I had intelligence, early responsibilities, some good outdoor skills, good social structure from the Scouts. What I didn't have was a real guide. I mean, Roger wasn't there as a father. And even now, he kind of lives rent-free in my head sometimes, wondering, wishing things could have been different. My mom, as much as she tried, was injured by his abuse and by life itself. And I spent a lot of time stuck inside my own head. Even now, my mind just goes everywhere, like weird dreams, car rides. I could just drift and be in a car ride, and then it would be like a clown show. My brain's flitting from detail to detail in a dream state. It can just happen. I could just imagine any scenario that I'd want to be in or thing I have to do, and I'd start thinking about doing it, and then I'd drift into a dream state, and then that dream would just become weird, and I'd fall asleep, and then hours would go by. My thoughts were bouncing always all over the place from every detail to detail. None of it was really needed, but that's where my brain wanders. That's been my inner world as far back as I can remember. I mean, school was a problem almost from the start. Not because I couldn't do the work, but because I just didn't fit the way traditional school was wired. I mean, eventually I ended up at an alternative high school, which I did much better. I mean, there was only 25 kids and a few teachers. And I did much better, rotating through a handful of small classrooms. That environment helped a lot to remove some of the chaos and the noise, more room to be who I was. But it was still filled with kids who were rebellious and cruel, and sometimes and uptight and anxious, all different sorts. Erotic. I remember a few of the girls. They were all carrying their own emotional messes. I really didn't fit anywhere. Still don't. I mean, I didn't fit in with the normal kids. I didn't fit in with a broken rebel crowd. I didn't fit in with the church kids. I mean, from early on, I was seeking God, curious, wanting to know who He is and what He wanted. But I never really committed to any path because there was never anyone really next to me walking with me, picking me up when I fell, knowing me and understanding how I was wired. Never really anybody. In the 70s, they didn't even have ADD and ADHD clearly mapped out. We were the emergence kids, the something's going on with this kid. In a way, we were patient zero for what later would become that ADD wave. That's what led me to, undergoing all those tests. I thought I was cheating in school. I thought I was cheating on the tests, and so they did some testing, an IQ test on me, and and they ran through all the puzzles and the patterns and reasoning tasks. And sure, they got a number. They told me that I was bright, that I was gifted, and there was a lot going on. But what they didn't do, what they didn't say, was your attention works differently. You're going to struggle managing your time. You're going to forget stuff. You're going to have trouble following through. And I also never heard, let's give you the tools to help you structure that. So I grew up with this split. On paper, smart. In real life, out of step, offbeat, misunderstood. Someone measured the horsepower, and just walked away. Nobody taught me how to drive, so to speak. And so when you look at, a guy like me and you don't know, well, this is how it shows up. Some of the, at some point you're going to have to stop talking around these issues, and I just have to name it. I mean, ADD is pretty bad. I mean, I suffer from forgetfulness, often forgetful of my daily activities, tasks, obligations. I forget things genuinely that I mean to do, appointments, chores, messages, basic follow-ups. It's not a stunt. It's not something I'm doing on purpose. I can remember the intentions, but the actual task just falls through a crack as if it's somehow not anchored. I have struggles with managing my time. I'm not like a chronically late person, but I was, so I worked very hard against it. That's why I kind of don't like that thing about Filipinos always being late. They joked about it. I mean, for me, it was a problem, so I don't find it very funny. Sometimes hours and days just slide past me when I get distracted. Sometimes I underestimate how long things will take, or I sink into thought. And whole days can evaporate while I'm busy in my head and not really moving. There's the impulsivity of it. Sometimes I can jump into things really fast, commitments, conversations, and then I'll think about it for a second, and then I'll flip my position real fast, after I said a quick yes. So sometimes I'll often speak with a little bit of emotion before I've really weighed it out on how things are going to land. And sometimes I'm halfway into something and I get caught up and I don't even realize I've started stuff. It's odd when I take medications and I literally have to move the bottles from one side of the location to the other, and I have to not have any distractions, or I run the risk of doubling down or not taking them at all. And And the biggest part is that starting tasks. I can see whole projects in my head and clearly detailed, and then what gets me. I start drifting into that and daydreaming in it, and I don't actually do it. And sometimes it feels like I'm pushing through wet cement, like there's an invisible wall between my intentions and my actions. Something in the way. And in the finishing of tasks, it's the same kind of thing. Even tasks I really care about, I'll start well, I'll plan well, and I'll even imagine the full blown end result, but then I'll just stall in the middle or the end, and I'll hit this wall, and there's a trail of half finished projects in every other room in this house. Oh man, this is happening again. I'm getting really tired. I'm easily distracted. Constant external, internal distractions, noise, movement, bodily pains, random thoughts, emotions, gestures. They all pull my focus. I could be mid-sentence, mid-task, and suddenly I've been kicked into a whole new arena somehow. And the original thing evaporates, and I'm left trying to remember what else I was doing. Sometimes I'm heartbroken by this. One of the biggest issues is a low tolerance for boredom and nonsense. This is a big problem for sufferers of ADD. It's difficult for you to stay engaged in repetitive, unstimulating, and meaningless tasks. If something feels fake, pointless, empty, an empty ritual, my brain starts saying, yeah, let's get out of here. I get restless and irritated fast in those situations, and I don't hide it well. Sometimes it's just too hard for me to tolerate, and it gets the best of me. I wonder how long we've been running here. I might need to take a quick break. Let's see. Okay. Where is my Be Right Back screen? I don't remember. Here we go. All right, gang. I gotta do something real quick. I'll be right with you. button right here the whole time since I came back from the break. Well, now, isn't that great, everybody? Boo boo! So, I just finished this series from the break without you hearing me say a word. That's hilarious. So, gang, how do we chuckle our way out of that one? Well, all right. I'm an idiot. So, where did we even leave off? Wow. I imagine we were talking about my history, my wiring, and why I couldn't keep a job. Yeah. All right. Well, I know what I'm going to do, folks. We're going to create a part 2. Or we'll do a redo. I don't have a chat thing going here, so nobody really wants to tell me if they're interested in me continuing to go through this. Yeah, because I mean, I came back from the break. And I stopped talking about the dreams. And I didn't talk about the medication issue that much. It's because I have a script here I got to follow because the ADD is so big. But I didn't press the microphone button to come back from the break. How funny is that? I forgot. All right, so to kind of bring it back a little bit in regards to work, fatherhood, and me feeling out of sync with this ADD nonsense. All of this, my history, my wiring, my symptoms, has shaped my work life. And an ADD is the biggest reason why I've never been able to hold a job the way most people can. And from the outside, it looks like unreliability or lack of discipline or not caring enough to show up. But in reality, I mean, I was like transposing clock schedules and I was showing up. I was just showing up on the wrong schedule. I mean, from the inside, it feels like, I mean, I know I'm capable. I understand the work. And I want to do well. But I'm still losing time somehow. I'm still losing the thread. Somehow I'm stalling in the middle of objects and projects and obligations. And I'm hitting that same invisible wall over and over. I mean, we talk about it here, something in the way. You know, you tell yourself you can do something, you know you can do it, but then you're just not doing it. Something's in the way. I have this issue. It blows my mind how much stuff just doesn't get done. But what I was getting at when I came back from the break was that there was one place that being like this where my wiring worked better. And that was being a stay-home dad. Being at home with my boys, especially when Anne was in my corner, my brain just made more sense of the world. My attention could easily jump between the children's needs and handle any small crisis, any crisis, juggle the meals, the messes, and I could turn creativity into stories and teaching moments. My low tolerance for nonsense could help me cut through what didn't matter and focus on what did right then. It wasn't perfect, but I felt like I belonged. Like my different brain could actually serve my family. And honestly, I believed my wife would be the help I never had. Her background, I mean, aside from a couple of quirks, she's pretty amazing. A couple of quirks, things I don't actually do. I still have to address. But I honestly believed I'd be okay with her in my corner. She was someone who understood my strengths and my weaknesses. She was someone who walked with me, saw both my heart and my history. Someone who could help build a life that worked with my wiring instead of constantly against it. That was the hope. So when the story became who you are instead of what you carry, well, when did that happen? When the focus locked onto what I didn't get done, how long things took. Look how I sounded there. How often I seemed off, out of place. These things weren't just normal marital conflicts. I felt like my whole story was being boiled down into the worst looking parts. Instead of Brian has ADD and a rough background, and he's trying. Look what you're like, Brian. You won't change. He doesn't care enough. He gets it in his head, all these notions, and he doesn't let anybody change his mind. See what you're like? My symptoms and my history became a verdict of my character without me even having a choice. And because my awareness often lags, even though I can notice patterns, sadly, sometimes I only notice them after the people are already upset at me. And it feels like I keep arriving too late to the scene of my own life. I can't fix a damn thing. So, I mean, you see tears because there's a lot that happens in this to be sad for. So what I'm trying to do to fix these things, instead of just whining about it, I mean, I've been working on this all my life. Some of it now has names and labels. Like, I have to reform the way I think and implement strategies for coping all the time. And that's essentially cognitive behavioral therapy. You know, you catch your distorted thoughts and you try to replace them with truth, and you build better habits. What I try to do is if there's anything that's intrusive or feels external, I try to say, well, does this sound like it aligns with Yah's will for my life? And if it doesn't align with scripture and doesn't make sense and would be what he wanted, I just dismiss it. I don't give into it anymore. Flesh is a different story. Stumbling is a different story. And I will always work on that and repent when necessary. You know, I have to practice mindfulness, being present, noticing what's happening inside and around me. I'm always like that, paying attention to the details anyways, but if I get caught up in that, I can lose sight a little bit of things, especially if I attach to an idea that I can't let go of until I get some sort of resolution. So this mindfulness is, lines up with scripture and Yah's will, being sober-minded, watchful, awake, not just drifting. And I mean, I would have liked to have the help necessary throughout this marriage, because I have to still work on the skill building and modifying my environment so I can continue to successfully set up external structures and routines and systems and reminders that support how my brain works, instead of things that just make me forget, stumble, and fall apart. I mean, these aren't just ideas I talk about. These are things that I'm, actually trying to put into practice. And this is the part where we get into some difficulty with you and me having to have things a certain way. Well, I don't know why you can't respect that, because I can't do any of this in a vacuum. I just can't. I need people around me who understand that I'm working on this, that are willing to do their part and work on it with me too. To know that I'm reforming these thoughts and practicing mindfulness, adjusting my environment. To see that when I slip, it's not always a willful rebellion or I'm doing something or this is just who I am. It's my wiring and it's my past and it's my limits colliding. If people around me don't know this, it's a nightmare. Misunderstandings, they just pile up. Emotional explosions happen. My symptoms and their expectations just crash into each other. I end up never really being seen or known for a way, because my symptoms keep hijacking the interactions. I keep messing up how I come across, even when my heart is in the right place. And I keep making things worse, destroying everything I touch. And I don't know how to stop. Not that I don't want to know how to stop. I just need people around me to help see this and to know that I'm not being mean, belligerent, disagreeable. So let me say this clearly. I'm not a narcissist. I'm not trying to make everything about me. I'm not building my entire identity on being a victim of narcissism either. Yes, I've been hurt by narcissistic people, Roger included. That's part of my story. But the frantic energy, the weird dreams, the lost time, the project pileups, the emotional spikes, zoning out, that's not me being narcissistic. It's not even me being abusive of any. It's not borderline. It's not psychotic. It's not crazy. It's ADD. It's trauma. A lifetime of being wired different, without support, without the right guides. I'm a guy whose brain just doesn't manage attention, time, and emotion like most people's. And it's all been layered on top of a childhood and a life that were never truly stable. So, again, I'm going to apologize for this break where I spoke, nobody heard what the darn thing I had to say. So, I have an ask. This is what I'm asking for. I don't want any of you to pretend that there's never been any damage done. I don't want you to say, oh, see, now he's saying he has ADD, so now we just have to dismiss what he's done. No. There's been damage. People have been hurt. Things have fallen apart. Things have fallen through by the wayside. My son's missing. Stress has landed on others because I lost track. disappeared into my head, or reacted badly when I should have responded. I own that. I'm sorry for that. So what I'm asking for is context. So when you see my behavior, you remember there's a long story underneath it. I'm asking for compassion, not pity, just the willingness to say, there's more going on here. I need patience. I need respect. When I need things written down, please write them down for me. When I ask you to repeat something, when I say, hey, I lost the thread, can you help me find it again? So patience and a bit of grace for how long I've been carrying all of this. From foster care to Roger and Muriel, from emergent patient zero kid through the alternative school years and my lonely seeking of God, to the man today, still fighting his own brain while trying to walk in Yah's will. So, to all of you, my wife, Vance, Devin, Adrian, my friends, my mother, my family, Ed, Joel, all of you. If you've been caught in the fallout of this mess, if you've been frustrated with me, hurt, confused, or exhausted by the way I move through the world, I want to say this plainly. I'm truly sorry. I never wanted my wiring, who I was, to hurt any of you. I never wanted my confusion to become your burden. And I never wanted my panic to make you feel like the enemy. I am working on this. I have been. Now, I just see it a little bit differently, thanks to Yah. I'm trying to reform my thinking, be more mindful than ever, in ways that will honor Yah all the time. I'm trying to build skills and shape my environment so I don't keep falling into the same holes and dragging people down into them with me. I don't do this perfectly. I probably never will. But I am doing it. And underneath all of it, foster child, the emergent kid, the Boy Scout, the alternative school misfit, the daydreamer, the stay-home dad, the husband, the man with attention deficit disorder. No, I'm not your enemy. I'm not a monster, and I'm certainly not a joke. I'm a man with a complicated history and a noisy brain. Telling the truth the best as I can. Hoping that somewhere in that truth, someone finally sees me clearly. Hoping that someone finally sees me. So thank you for listening. Again, you have my apologies for what should have been a stress-free situation. With this stream, I didn't realize I had not actually taken care of business. Oh, and look at my thanks for watching screens are trash. Isn't that nice? They're like gone. I don't even know how to fix this. I broke them. Yep. Yep. Boom. We are missing a screen. Now that bites. Yep, looks like the folder that holds that background is a disk drive that doesn't exist. So my USB kicked out on us, folks. So I don't even know how to say thanks for watching other than to go backwards out of here and just thank you personally without any screens. So here we will go. And I will say, thank you, gang, for putting up with this. Another attempt to reach you. I love you all. So thanks for watching.